When hell is on a mission to find brand new agents on Earth, they just go for the sweet smell of desperation. What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is an I Review, a show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something you should go back to the comic book shop for or not. Make sure you subscribe to get more of these every single week. The book that I want to talk about right now continues DC's New Age of Heroes, and that is The Curse of Brimstone #1 by Justin Jordan and Philip Tan. So this has been kind of called like a Ghost Rider similarity, and while the offer that's made is still kind of in that similar vein, there's going to be a hell of a lot of hellfire rolling up here that's not necessarily for people that need penance. This is going to be something interesting, but let's dive in and see what kind of horror story they're looking to tell in Curse of Brimstone #1. DC's New Age of Heroes makes another debut with The Curse of Brimstone by Philip Tan and Justin Jordan, and to start things off, we get the impression with this standard trifold cover where we clearly get the indication that we're dealing with something otherworldly. You know, you've got these demonic entities at the top of it, you've got this kind of Lucifer-esque character at the bottom, and then you've got Brimstone in the middle, which is a very demonic entity in its own right. But when we open things up, it's a very simple principle that we need to deal with. Everything burns, which seems to give you a sense of foreboding for what's going to be happening in the story. After that, we get a lot of backstory. The backstory is very heavy when it comes to the history of the town that they grew up in. You know, York Hills was once a great place. It was a coal mining town, then it was a factory town, and then now it's no longer a town much at all because all those businesses, all those things have moved out. And according to the narrator, there's only one way to survive in York Hills, and that's to escape. That's the thing that he's trying to do. He's trying to get over the hills to the other towns so that way he can get to his job interview. His car is just this hunk of shit anyway, so he can't do that. He gets stranded on the side of the road. He's got somebody behind him honking at him as he's trying to get to work himself. It's like, Chamberlain, get that piece of shit off the road. Some of us have jobs. As he drives into the local diner. And one thing that Joe Chamberlain has that he can count on, it seems like, is his sister Annie. It seems like she might be the breadwinner. She's the one that's studying. She's the one that needs to go to school. That's something that's going to kind of be a theme for this. Joe isn't necessarily out there to do these things for himself. He's out there to do them for his sister. As you can kind of get in the panel where it's just like, you know, just focus on that nursing degree, you know, getting to school, getting out of here. You're not going to be stranded in a place like this. Of course, you've got the local authorities. You've got to set up Tom. Officer Tom Figured has arrested Joe Chamberlain quite a few times, and Annie seems to insinuate just as much, which leads to Joe's quick exit. Doesn't necessarily like him all that much. As he goes home, he sees that Miss Gerhardt has made some cookies and things like that. This is really all setting up quaint, small town kind of societies, and it's really digging into what's currently happening or what might be happening inside your own community. If you're not in an urban area, there are situations, and I grew up in a very small town, and there was one place that was doing a lot of business, and it was employing a lot of people, and now that business is shut down, and that has really changed the dynamic of a lot of places in that area. You know, smaller businesses have to start up, there's not nearly as many jobs, or they've got to go to a different town, they've got to go to a different place. They're commuting 35, 45, 55 minutes an hour, 2 hours in order to find work. And this is the situation that Joe Chamberlain's in York Hills. What once was a coal mining town, what once was a factory town, where his father used to work a really good job, but now he's on disability because he suffered an injury at work, and then nobody would cover it. Nobody was helping out the little guy. Nobody was helping out the person in need, or the man that worked hard, put his time into things. So that is the essence of where Joe Chamberlain's coming from. He feels that things are treating the people that are working the hardest the most unfairly, which is going to bias his decision later. Of course, we jump over to Mr. Figured after we set him up, and we've got this dark Mercury Cougar-looking muscle car making its way through town, finding its way into Officer Figured's sights because it's speeding, and this entity inside the driver's seat, flashes some demonic eyes at him, kind of blinking him out for a little bit, but Tom is actually pretty happy being the sheriff that he is, which is kind of a shame because that means that the Hound is going to have to put the officer on ice. But once we jump back over to Joe and Annie's house where they're talking to their dad, she's figuring out the books. They're $150 short. What happened? And what happened is that Joe's dad lent the money to Andy because Andy was on a tough stretch. But the thing is, they're on a tough stretch. Joe is just so frustrated with the situation. He's trying his best to succeed, but he's not succeeding. He's trying his best just to create a situation where his sister, where Annie can get out of here because she has the possibility. She's got the grades. She can get out of this town. She is the one that can escape, and he's he's trying to push her as hard as he can to make that happen. As he runs off, we already know that he has car troubles, and it leaves him stranded on the side of the road. He finds himself walking in the cold of night, but then the dark Mercury Cougar-looking muscle car happens upon him, and that's where we start getting the pitch. We start thinking about why this entity is coming to York Hills. Small town lives leading to small town deaths. This isn't Metropolis. This isn't Gotham. Nobody from there cares about what happens here. And this man who's meant to be making this sales pitch gives him everything that he needs, gives Joe all the justification. This is a young, impetuous individual, doesn't necessarily have the education, and he looks at the opportunity and he's just like, yeah, whatever, man. If you can give me whatever the power is, blah, 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 become our agent and I'll be able to take care of you and what you're looking to do. And with his hand extended out to Joe, as soon as he grasps it and his eyes turn red, a mask coming across his face, leaving him as this kind of demonic entity, fire raging from his body, just this blast of heat and coal fire that is showing him visions of destruction and burning everything to the ground as this agent of chaos and evil. And what we're going to see is we're going to see the aftermath of what happens to Brimstone when he's unleashed upon the town of York Hills. He's going to try and put York Hills on the map, but it's not going to be in the way that he was hoping. I would say that I was really happy with Curse of Brimstone. The unfortunate thing is that I wasn't. As far as Philip Tan's art goes, I think that Philip Tan art has a place and time, and I think that it was pretty fantastic. If you see him in The Drowned, the one-shot for that particular Batman character from Dark Knight's Metal, he's got some very good points in there where his art really speaks to me. It's the use of vibrant colors and things like that. However, a lot of his art feels relatively undefined. It feels a little bit loose, it feels a little bit free, which can be fun, but it's not necessarily the look for me. And then you've got the writing from Justin Jordan. I realize there's a lot of setup for this character, but it doesn't necessarily speak to me in a way that I would consider it to be too terribly interesting. So I don't necessarily think that this is going to be a book that I'm going to continue to pick up. It's one of those things where if you find it interesting, more power to you, but it just doesn't speak to me in a way that's going to keep me coming back. If there was a little bit more intriguing way for us to deal with this, if it made me feel a little bit more for Joe, if it was Annie that was turned into Brimstone, this person that was working hard and things like that, that would feel a little bit better as a twist. But there's just not a lot here for me to latch onto and to really get invested in for the character. But I want to know what you guys think too, so hit me up in the comments down below and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.